BBC News. Hello, I'm Jerry Smith. Greece says it has stopped nearly 10,000 migrants crossing over the border from Turkey since Ankara relaxed restrictions on the movement of refugees. At the border, the Greek Defence Minister, Nikolaos Panayotopoulos, told the BBC people would not be allowed into his country.
Those that have entered Greek territory have been arrested and detained. And in my mind, this is an illegal way of entering one country. Whoever has gotten through, and there have been few cases of people that have gotten through, have been arrested by Greek authorities.
On Saturday, Greek police fired tear gas to deter the crowds. The police say at least 500 people on 7 boats have reached the Greek islands of Lesbos, Samos and Chios, where camps for migrants are already overcrowded. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan loosened his country's grip on refugees flows after at least 33 Turkish soldiers were killed in airstrikes in Idlib province in Syria. He says Turkey cannot cope with the new exodus from Syria. South Korea says nearly 9,000 members of a religious sect are showing signs of the coronavirus. If they test positive, it would represent a large increase in the number of infections in the country. So far, there have been 3,500 confirmed cases. Half of those are members of the sect. There's been a dramatic decline in air pollution in China during the mass quarantine of people for the coronavirus. Michael Bristow reports.
Startling satellite images from the US and European space agencies show a huge reduction in the levels of nitrogen dioxide. The noxious gas is emitted from vehicles, power plants and factories, many of which have lain idle during the quarantine. The reduction was first evident in Wuhan, where there have been the most restrictions, but now it's spread across China. There's been a fall in other pollutants too. China's been plagued with poor quality air for many years. This sudden improvement is one small positive from the coronavirus health emergency.
The Afghan President Ashraf Ghani says his government has made no commitment to free 5,000 Taliban prisoners, as stated in Saturday's deal between the United States and the Taliban for a phased end to their 18-year war. Under the agreement, the Taliban detainees would be released in exchange for up to 1,000 people held by the militants. But Mr. Ghani said the prisoner swap could not be considered a precondition for future talks.
There was a request, but it can only be part of the negotiations, and it cannot be a precondition. Also, there can be no question of goodwill, because the Afghan nation must be assured that whoever is going to be released will not fight against it one day.
You're listening to World News from the BBC. A millionaire anti-corruption campaigner is poised to become Slovakia's Prime Minister after his opposition party, called Ordinary People, won the general election. Igor Matovic said voters wanted to clean up Slovakia so laws would apply to everyone. He harnessed outrage at the murder 2 years ago of the journalist Jan Kuciak and his fiancée. Mr. Kuciak was investigating alleged political collusion with organised crime. The French Europe Minister Amélie de Montchalin has said the European Union is prepared to abort a post-Brexit deal if European fishermen are denied access to British waters. She told the BBC fishing was one of 4 key negotiating planks.
We linked free trade agreement, conditions of competition, governance of the whole deal and fishing. Because we feel that we cannot agree on any of these subjects if we cannot agree on the whole of the 4 points.
When pushed to say if the EU would scrap the lot for the sake of an industry that contributes less than 1% of European GDP, she said yes. But she said that would make both sides the losers. A new Prime Minister of Malaysia has been sworn in after a week of political turmoil, in which the coalition government collapsed when more than 30 members of parliament defected. Malaysia's king has appointed the leader of the rebellion, Muhyiddin Yassin, as premier. But Mr. Muhyiddin is being challenged by his predecessor, Mahathir Mohamad. Dr. Mahathir insists that Mr. Muhyiddin does not command a majority in parliament. Germany's harvest of ice wine grapes has failed for the first time because the winter has been too warm. The drink is a dessert wine produced from grapes that are frozen on the vine. None of Germany's 13 wine-growing regions had the necessary temperatures of -7 centigrade to produce the wine. BBC News.